All right. So if you're just tuning in with us, my name is Bill Fisher, and I'm here with Jonathan Curry. And we are talking about implementing AI into your business. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by talking about my business. I have multiple businesses, but the one business, what we're going to do is we're going to use this as my business as a test subject or a lab rat, really, and just to see how well, when we implement certain solutions to my business and to where my pains are, that we're going to see what kind of positive impacts that AI can possibly have on my business. And so, just to give you the idea of what my business is the particular business that we're talking about is I own two restaurants in Anchorage, Alaska, and also a catering company and event center. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how can I take AI and make my business more profitable, make my job easier, and become more effective at what we do, and alleviate some of the pain and frustration that a lot of my employees have, and maybe even eliminate some of my employees if I need to. Right? That's not the goal, but the goal is to make them more effective in what they do, more productive, and for me to be more profitable because of that. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about, first I want to tell you, we were just talking a little bit earlier before we started today about my idea of what AI is. And I think I want to spell that out a little bit because I think a lot of people are there. And you know what's funny, Jonathan, is when I speak to people on a regular basis, most people just heard about ChatGPT or, a different Claude, whatever the case. They just heard about different AIs. But a lot of people, they don't even know what it is. They have no idea. And we talked about this in the past, but so when I learned about AI, I was at a party a couple of years ago, and it was a family party, and one of the kids that was there, and when I say kids, he's probably about 22 years old, 23 years old, and he just started his own business, just got married, and he's like, have you heard of ChatGPT? And I was like, I think I've heard of it, but I'm not really sure. And he's like, check this out. And he's telling me all the cool things that it could do, and everybody's the first response was, it's evil. It's going to take a Terminator. It's going to take over, right? And now, obviously, going back, we know that's 100% true.
Definitely still on the
horizon. No, but looking back at that conversation, it's just like when you start to understand what something is a little bit better, you start to realize that, well, this is a really cool tool. And what he did was he was like, check this out. I can make this thing write a book for me. And I could publish it. And I'm like, no way. That's no way. And he just like, here, write a book about this and this and this and this. And it wrote a book. And I'm like, holy cow, that's really cool. And then I just kind of like checks in the mail kind of thing. Yeah, I like AI, but really what happened was I just kind of forgot about it for a little bit. And then another buddy brings it up to me and he's like, have you seen this ChatGPT thing? And you can write music. You can write songs with it. Have you seen this? You can make pictures. I was actually looking for this. I was trying to build this tattoo and I was trying to figure out how to do it. And he was like, oh, there's an AI for that you can actually just plug in what your tattoo is that you want and just tell it, and it will come up with tattoos. That's not really where I got this from, but I came up with a whole bunch of different ideas from this. And then so you can write music, you can create pictures, you can now create videos. It's just so cool. It's so smart. And so I thought about it even further. How do I bring this into my business? How can I eliminate some of the frustrations, failures, and problems in my business by bringing AI into my business. And so I just started playing around, farting around with it, just typing in, do this, try this, if I were this. And I think the eye opener for me, Jonathan, is when another part of a business that I do and that you do is that, we're real estate investors. And I didn't understand a contract. And so I had Chat, I basically plugged in a contract that was sent to me, and I said, Chat, take a look at this contract and tell me anything flags that I need to be aware of. Is this in my interest or not in my interest? Am I about to get screwed over on this? And so I plugged it in, and Chat came back and said, yeah, Bill, it looks like paragraph 1 and section 3 and whatever the case, look for these things. Here's the flags. Here's what I would do is I would rewrite it like this and send this back. If you would like, would you like me to type that up and send it back and have you create a PDF so you can send it back to them? I'm like, heck yeah, yes. So looked at the contract, looked at the new contract, and like, yeah, I can definitely tell this was definitely not in my favor. And so then I go even further into my business, and I'm like, okay, act as an attorney when I'm dealing with this employee situation, or act as an HR manager, or do these things on my behalf because I don't know how to do them, nor do I ever want to know how to do them, or learn them, right? I would just rather hire the right person, but because of the new capabilities in AI, I don't really have to hire a person to do a lot of these things. So that's where you and I came up with this conversation is, how do we teach people how to use AI in their business? How do we make their day easier and better, more profitable, more productive? And what do people need to know? And so what are you thinking as far as somebody who is starting out like me? What's the important things that I need to know?
You know, when people hear about AI, you say there's a lot of people that don't, but if you're in business, at some point in time, you've at least heard AI, especially by now. It's been around for a couple of years. And a lot of business owners hear this in just people in general, I guess, even if you're real estate investors, if you're on your own, if you have a team, it comes in the form of, you need to go use ChatGPT on your business, or are you using chat in your business? Almost like shortened it, like Google was for search. And it skips over some of the major fundamental parts about having AI in your business in a successful way. And you say, well, what is it? Most businesses don't even start with the problem. And you started playing with it, you're like, oh, I could use this in my business. But one of the steps that you skipped over is, what problem did you have in your business? What would make you want to bring this brand new technology that you've barely even heard of into the thing that is supporting your family and your employees' families? And we get wrapped up in this hype because it can do things like write a book, it can analyze contracts, but if you don't need to analyze a contract or write a book, then why use it at all? What happens when it fails in those spaces? When it gives you the wrong advice about a contract, or it writes a book that you only read the first 3 chapters, but the 4th chapter is a completely different story. And so, navigating these spaces from a business standpoint, I think is really important. And to do that, you have to start out from your basic business principles. And anybody who's approaching this AI space as a business owner, you have to be founded in that place. And that starts out with, how do you define your problem? How do you know that you should continue allocating any funds to this project at all?
Okay.
Because it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool like any other, except it might be the most capable thinking tool that you'll ever integrate in your business.
Right now, it's the fastest growing business ever, right?
Fastest growing technology ever. the uptake on AI, it was like, I think it took like 16 years for computers. Don't quote me on this, but something in this order, for everyone to be like, oh yeah, we're all using computers. And it took like 2 years for AI to do the same thing.
Hmm.
Which is why when we say that, a lot of people don't know what it is, but there's a lot of people that do. And, a business owner, you have to imagine that at some point in time, your competitors are either using AI now, they're like you, they're trying to use it, or they've already locked in on AI and they're kind of getting that first mover advantage. And this brings up the other reason why a lot of people, you got to use AI, otherwise you're going to get behind. You'll be obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hear that all the time.
yeah, and these are assumptions, and they need to be tested. And this is why grounding yourself in a process of, sound business principles, not getting caught up in hype, because not every problem can be solved with computer technology or AI, but those that can are exponential in their impact, especially if you implement them intentionally.
All right. Well, let's talk about that.
All right.
So what can we implement into the average business first? What are the needs? What are the pains? What do you let's not even talk about AI. Let's just talk about let's go back to the one guy in a truck, right? Let's just start with him or her. What does that person, what does their day look like? What do their frustrations look like? What does their problems look like?
So it's actually a good start. So when you're looking for this problem definition space, you go, okay, question one, who's affected, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, you said, well, one person in a truck, okay, but are there customers affected by this pain?
Sure.
Specific team, partners. So defining who exactly are we speaking to? Because if I'm solving the one person in a truck's customers' problems, I might be speaking about response time. If I'm speaking to the actual person in the truck, I may be speaking on getting their schedule worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And these are two problems that AI can solve and solve really well. But if we just say, a guy in a truck, we haven't actually defined who we're speaking about in terms of the AI problem that we want to solve.
I think that's important to talk about that real quick is that when we say one guy in a truck, you and I, we're thinking like blue collar worker. We're thinking about somebody who is just became skilled enough to start his own business, maybe a handyman, maybe a plumber, maybe an electrician, just became a journeyman, decides I'm going to go out on my own now, right? I'm tired of paying my boss's payroll for him. I'm gonna go start my own business. He's got a really good idea. He's got a really good work ethic. Let's just say, for example, a plumber, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plumbers make a lot of money right now, and so they see that really big shiny object especially when they're involved in their boss's estimates, right? And they're out on the job and they're like, what? You're charging this guy $250 an hour, but you're paying me $30? Right? And like, I'm going to go start my own business right now. And that's usually what happens. I used to manage a heating company, and this is exactly what happens. The guys would hit their journeyman license. As soon as they got their journeyman, I'm out and I'm going to start my own. They go out and they buy a utility truck. They buy the tools that they need, enough to get started. And then about a year later, they're applying back with us because they couldn't do it, because they didn't understand business, because they didn't realize how many pieces there were to run a profitable business. Like the boss that they used to work for figured it out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Probably through trial and error, lots of time, lots of money, and lots of losses, but they come back.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the reasons why. They didn't realize how much insurance cost. They didn't realize the the fees and the costs of doing business. They didn't realize that people were firing them because they weren't good at calling them back or answering their phone, or even guys would show up and give you an estimate, and they'd show up on time and they'd give you the estimate, but you wouldn't see the estimate for 2 or 3 weeks. And by that, I'm already on to the next guy,
Right.
because I don't have time for that as the homeowner or whatever the case. So I need a quick turnaround. And then they suck with their billing. That was the big problem, is they couldn't get paid because they didn't understand all of the processes, right? So let's talk about that. Let's just talk about this guy.
Well, you touched on what question number 2 is, which is what is actually broken.
Yeah.
And you listed off a whole bunch of things. Delays, the errors. Each one of those things is a specific pain point, and you address each one individually. Even though the temptation is to let's fix billing. Okay, too broad. How are you going to derive, which is question number 3, where is this work happening? Is the billing problem, as you say, they arrive on time, they give the estimate, or is it that the estimate doesn't show up? Is it that the work doesn't show up after the estimate? Where exactly is this happening? And these are the last question is how you measure your success. And so if you choose a really broad problem and you don't define these elements, who it's impacting, what's actually broken, specifically what's broken, where is that occurring, how do we know that we've been successful at solving that problem, you haven't defined a problem. And so moving on to the next step of AI is going to be a folly. So when we're talking about this person, this technician in a truck, the first skill that person needs to learn for the things that you just outlined in experience, they run off, they do the truck, but they lack these foundations of identifying problems, defining them, understanding just those 4 questions. It'll fundamentally change the way that they view the problems in their business. They won't be giant, overwhelming things. They'll be very specific things that can be measured, identified, and actually solved. And on whole, maybe you do come up with a solution that, ideally we want to find the root cause of that solution or the problem, so that the chain of problems goes away. But without having that clear model in your head, the person in the truck is going to always struggle, because there's always going to be too many moving parts. There are always going to be things that they don't even know that they don't know. And, you fall back to your training. And if your training is a technician, then that's what you'll lean on. You might work harder, make less money overall. You might go back and find a job, work for somebody else, both. You might moonlight, and these are all patterns that they're not unique to technical workers. Moonlighting is, like in AI, we call it shadow AI. It's when people do their own thing outside of the prescribed, course for the business. And so that person, first and foremost, has to get a foundation of business in a very simple way, without having to go get a degree in it. And so those are one of the things that that we are delivering here is ask these 4 questions. If you can't answer these 4 questions, don't move forward.
So give me the 4 questions again.
So who's affected? What's actually broken? Where in the workflow does it hurt? Where is the pain? Where exactly is it? And how will you measure success?
And when you say how will you measure success, are you saying like success in like, okay, I've fixed a problem, a solution has been been found? Is that the success, or are you talking about the basic success of your business?
In this case, it's the specific problem, but ultimately it should reverberate through. So if, let's say, if we take customer response, you say, you know, they don't pick up the phone, they don't get back to me, it takes too long. This is like customer support response times. How will I know that I'm successful? I will have reduced the amount of time that some customer reached out to the time that I got back to them. I can look at my call logs. I can look at my email logs.
Reviews?
Any way that I'm, well, you know, reviews can potentially be useful in sentiment, but reviews are also quick to be weaponized. And so as a data point, they're a lot less useful because you really can't separate somebody's intention out of it. But if I look at your call log and I can see customer in, and then you didn't get back to them for 4 hours, that's a data point that's backed by the logs on your device. If a customer sends you an email and they never get a response, I can see that. It's there isn't any opinion built into that. And so if I derive a success metric around, well, let's reduce that 20%, or a customer should get their first reply back immediately. Each one of those is a separate metric of success. Now, what metric you choose depends on what your business is and how important that response is to your business. So if it's a response back with an estimate, for example, sometimes it's solved with advertising. We will get you an estimate within 24 hours. Okay, so you've made a commitment to your customer that within 24 hours you'll have your estimate to them. Versus if I say, come online and we'll get you an estimate immediately, it's a promise, right? And so what I determine as my success metric is if I say within 24 hours, then anything outside of 24 hours, I have to bring in within 24 hours. If it's on my website and I say that I give you an estimate immediately, then I have to make sure that they have access to my website, for example, that my software is actually working, that they're actually getting that estimate when they hit submit. If the problem is churn, I get a bunch of people submitting their for estimates. They receive their estimates, but they're not coming to me. They don't like the number that they see. Then some people say, oh, well, maybe I just need to change my pricing. But if you don't define so we have who's affected, customer. That's your initial assumption. The customer is affected because they get an estimate that they don't, want to actually accept. But when I look at that same problem, I go, well, is the issue that they didn't like the number, or do you have a reputation for changing the price after the estimate was given? And so now you have a completely different problem. With your still churn, still customers not accepting your estimate, but the actual reason that they're not accepting your estimate isn't what you originally thought it was.
So I think what we want to focus on is, we can't fix the ethics of a business with AI, right? And the way that someone, if they change their pricing, after the fact,
So, yes and no. If it's truly an ethical problem, right? If it's truly like they're a shiesty practitioner, obviously we can't change that person. But if the process is improved, so for example, one of the things that AI changes about automated estimation, for example, is that previously the only way you could get automated estimates is to have a hard, fast set of rules. if this, then that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that leads to any exceptional cases that don't fall within your rules don't get accurate estimates. With AI, it can actually look at these patterns, not just within your business, but within all of the training data that it was trained on. And it can make those adjustments in real time. And so if the reason is that maybe you are a Shiesty practitioner, but you have an opportunity to be Shiesty because your estimates aren't making you any money, because you're trying to do them too quick and your customers need too much special care, and so you just use it as a way to get them in and you bait and switch. Well, you implement AI, one of the benefits of automation is that you're removing human error. An ethics violation is a form of human error. If I take the human out of the loop, they don't have an opportunity to be unethical. And this is actually really important for business owners too. If you have an unethical employee, you remove the human element and you put in a decision engine that can do those complex decisions, then now your estimates are more accurate. The pricing is more accurate. You can dial them in to make sure that you're making money. And there isn't a human that has the opportunity to call those audibles.
So let's talk about that for a second. So you're talking about removing the human error from it. In order to do that, you have to remove the human.
Not necessarily. It's not always the case. Because you might have somebody over you, right?
Might have what?
Like, so if you're a business and an estimate comes off the line, like it can take days for somebody to put a complex estimate together because they have to do a ton of research.
Mm-hmm.
Pricing, materials, shipping, what's in the yard, what's not in the yard, all of these things, right? And they're having to do all of that manually. And where we then say, well, actually, rather than having that person move much slower, I have the same person, but now they're reviewing 100 estimates a day instead of doing one estimate in a day. Because they can look at the outcomes. They don't have to do the research. They don't have to do the things that are the most time consuming in their job, but they still have the knowledge. They still have the subject matter expertise where they can look at something and say, yes, this looks correct. Or, oh, I don't think this looks correct because didn't the person say X, Y, Z? Oh yeah, I see here in the notes. We missed something. And so it doesn't necessarily have to replace the person. It can if you completely automated.
Do you think people are ready for that? The customer base, especially in the service industry.
The customers?
Yeah.
Definitely.
You think so?
Because the customers theoretically shouldn't know the difference. What they should see is excellent service. And unless you invite them in behind the scenes every single time, they're receiving that excellent service.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you pay any attention to the inner workings of your HVAC person that you hired? You don't even think about it if they show up on time. Their truck's clean. They do quality work. They don't leave a mess, right? They come in their uniform. Like, the service is excellent. They answer the questions, all of those things. You just think, oh, that is excellent. But you don't even wonder if they made any money on that job. If they just,
Or you hope they didn't.
Well,
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Well, I had a case with my HVAC that I had installed, and the person who came out and estimated it as a standard, like, here's the job. But it turned out that the clearance for the ventilation was not what they thought. And they had to eat the cost of the unique ventilation situation because it was overlooked.
Yeah.
And
that's common.
Right. But my experience as a customer is excellent customer service because they didn't. I believe customers are always ready for better service.
They're ready for better service, but I'm just saying, like, what about taking the human out? A lot of people are like when you get that automated phone call and the first thing you're like, oh my gosh, is this AI? Am I talking to AI? Human? Can I talk to a human? Operator, right? And
Yeah.
because a lot of people, they immediately go straight to, I don't want to deal with this because AI has been so clumsy
Yeah.
that it's like, old AI has been so clumsy, and you still deal with a lot, like,
Sure.
and even like in the phone menu thing, like press 1 for this. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I'm sorry, did not understand. I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself? Like I said, and then you're just like operator, and you're so mad. And so that's what I'm saying is, do you
Yeah.
think that customers are going to be accepting to AI taking over a lot of that stuff, knowing that they're talking to AI?
Well, let me ask you this: when phone systems became, press 0 for to speak to a human, um, did you get asked?
Did I get asked
Yeah.
what?
Were you consulted before that change happened? No, just one day
Yeah.
you had phone menus,
And I always hit 0.
right? My
Always.
my wife is exactly the same way.
Yeah.
You can't even get me on the phone. I
Yeah.
don't pick up the phone. I do not like if I can do it through email, if I can do it through their website, if I can do it in any way that requires me to not speak to a person, I will go that route.
Yeah.
If there's an app for it, I will get the app for it. Now, some people might say, "Well, Jonathan, you're an industry guy. Of course, you're going to go the technical route." But I'll also point out that no one asks us. Those decisions are made out of the financial and business necessity. And some of that is scaling. It's like no one asked me if I wanted my customer service support people to be, in a completely different country. The reasons for that were for financial reasons or strategic reasons that had nothing to do with the customer. I've called companies and had their customer support straight lie to me multiple times. And to me, that's more frustrating than getting on and talking to an AI that is scope limited to only be able to do certain things. It's not trained to lie to the customer. It might say, sorry, can't do that. I'm forwarding you to a human. Great. Honesty. Woo. What a awesome thing. Because dishonesty, human error. And so are they ready? Some are, some aren't. My wife still does not like having banking apps on her phone.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that it's ever going to be an equal rollout. There will always be pushback, but I don't think that the customer will have a choice.
So I've implemented, well, I haven't implemented it yet. It should happen today, maybe tomorrow. The AI app or AI agent actually for my restaurant. We're trying it out at one restaurant to see how well it works. I sent you a video. Did you watch that video?
I don't think I watched the video.
Okay. So I have this video of myself calling this phone number. And I go through this whole thing and I try and throw it as many curveballs as I possibly can. First of all, you're dealing with AI in most situations. Like eventually a little trigger picks up and you're like, okay, that was not a human that I was just speaking to. They didn't respond normally, the way mannerism of a human would. But I was like, this particular product that we have already, the agent is really good. It's really good. And a lot of times I'm like, man, this sounds like a human, but it sounds like AI. But I felt, honestly, when dealing with it, I was like, well, that was a really good encounter that I had because I changed my order like 4 times and it wasn't a person at the end that was getting pissed off with me, throwing a fit and okay, I got other people here. It wasn't that. It was, oh, yeah, absolutely, I can change it for you. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, perfectly. Yeah, and we can offer this. Yeah, we can change it to that. And I was throwing it all kinds of
Sure.
curveballs just to see if I can get it to trip up or whatever the case. But it wasn't. It was just really good
Yeah.
customer
Yeah.
service.
What a fantastic choice.
Yeah, it's exactly. If you watch the video, like that is a really yummy choice. Yeah, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So, we should be implementing that and trying it out
Yeah.
on a trial basis today or tomorrow. Okay, so check this out. So we own two restaurants, and we are looking to have AI help out with the front staff. So basically, we have an AI ordering system now that we haven't put online yet. Today's going to be the first day that we're going to try this out. And I'm going to record it and I'm going to see how well it does. And let's just see how it goes from here. So I'm going to call the number. Hey, what time do you guys open today?
We open at 11 a.m. today. Is there something you'd like to plan for when we're open?
Yeah, I think so. Do you have dine-in or is it just takeout only?
We do have dine-in available. Are you thinking of stopping by or placing an order for pickup?
Uh, I I think I'm gonna just do an order for pickup, but I just wanted to find out if you do.
Gotcha. If you're ready to place a pickup order, let me know what time you'd like to pick it up and we'll get started.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look at it. I guess I'm ready to order. Okay, I think I'll probably be there about 11:25 p.m. or a.m. I'm sorry, a.m.
I've set your order for Thursday, December 18th at 11:25. Great. Your pickup is set for 11:25 a.m. What would you like to order?
Awesome. Okay, so I would like the adult grilled cheese, and I would like to add bacon and tomato to that. And what do you think about mushroom? Would mushroom be good on that?
All right. Well, grilled cheese for you. While bacon and tomato aren't listed as standard add-ons, mushrooms might be a tasty touch. Would you like to go with mushrooms or keep it classic?
Let's go with the tasty touch. I like it.
All right, adult grilled cheese with mushrooms for pickup. Your adult grilled cheese with mushrooms has been added to the order. Anything else to add?
Does that come with fries?
Yep, the adult grilled cheese comes with our famous garlic fries. Would you like to swap them out for something else or stick with the fries?
What are my options to swap them out? That sounds good.
You can swap the garlic fries for tots. Plain fries, onion rings, buffalo tots, loaded fries or tots, Reuben tots, the salad, sauteed veggies, soup, or animal style fries. What sounds good?
Wow. Animal style fries. What's that?
Animal style fries are our garlic fries loaded with melty nacho cheese, house made bacon jam, and our awesome sauce. They're a flavor explosion. Want to go for those?
Wow, that sounds amazing. Yeah, let's do that.
Swapping garlic fries for animal style fries. Got it. Your
Cool.
adult grilled cheese now comes with animal style fries.
How much is that, by the way? How much is the adding the animal fries? How much more is it going to cost me?
Your total for the adult grilled cheese with animal style fries will come to $17. Does everything on your order look good?
Yeah, sure does. That sounds like a great deal. How much was it just the regular without animal fries?
The regular adult grilled cheese with garlic fries would have been a little less, but the animal style fries are definitely worth the upgrade. Now, before the kitchen can get started, we'll need to collect payment. Would you like
Well,
to
I want to know the difference of the price first.
The regular adult grilled cheese with garlic fries is $14. So adding the animal style fries is just a $3 difference.
Yeah, I think things like that are very exciting, and I
Yeah.
think that for customer-initiated customer service, that will, in the very near term, become completely indecipherable
The norm.
from human to
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
The voice is already there. You said there's some personality tells that if you work with a lot of AI, then you can pick it out. But for the most part, and I would say probably for the entire just across the board, the customer is ultimately going to go, I got what I wanted. And I didn't feel bad for it. And I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel like they had to get off and close the call. I didn't get lied to improve some metric, and because that AI can handle 1,000 of those calls, the customer will never feel like they have anything less than all the time in the world. And these types of innovations, I think they're a no-brainer. I think that if you're not in the space, you don't necessarily recognize how even some of these small improvements has shifted customer service, like the implementation of a chatbot on a website. A lot of people, when those rolled out, like, who's going to use that?
Yeah.
Never going to use that.
Yeah.
Except it cut down, trouble tickets and email insane numbers.
Yeah.
And it improved the immediate response time. Like, you get to a website and it's like, do you have any questions? I was like, close, go away, I just got here.
Yeah.
But that first initial contact from a metrics basis, it's crazy how many people are like, yes, actually, where they stopped navigating the website. Some people just go straight to that chat box and they're just like, I need a thing.
I used to hate it. But now you're right. I look forward to it because it's like, when using chat, for example, I have instant information.
Yeah.
Right. And I do not have to search like where Google used to be. Well, Google still is, that you put in a search and it brings up websites with that relevant information. And then it says, here, happy reading. Go read all the websites.
Right.
But chat just says, here's your answer, your very specific answer that you were looking for. And here's where I found it, by the way.
Yeah.
And so that chat bot is the same thing. It's like, hey, how can I help you?
Right.
And it's programmed a certain amount of information. And if you have a FAQ that is normally asked, it's going to have that information for you right away. You do not have to go searching through every single page of their website and get frustrated. It's usually right there. All right. So before we close out today, I just want to go back through those 4 important questions because you said if you can't pass this test.
Yeah. Before you approve any AI project, get the answers to these 4 questions.
Okay. And so question number 1.
Who is affected?
Who is affected? And we talked about who is affected is your customer,
Customers,
internal employees, your internal
specific
customers.
team, your partners. Identify the who. Who is affected?
Okay.
Question number 2, what is actually broken? So is it delays? Are there errors? Does something need to be reworked? Is there a risk that needs to be mitigated? Be very specific of what is actually broken.
Yeah, and a lot of times one of the things we talked about is time. Time could be broken. We don't have time to get to everything, right?
Yep.
So that could be one of the problems.
Yep. So
Okay.
that's a risk. 3, where in the workflow does it hurt? Where are you feeling this pain? Is it at a specific step? How often is this happening? How big?
Right. Right. So you're spending $10,000 a month in Google advertising, Google search advertising. Great. And your phone is ringing off the hook, but no one's answering it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4th question, how will you measure success? Is it time saved? Is it the error rate goes down? Is it costs go down? Is it increased satisfaction with customer? And again, be specific. Like, these need to be something that you can measure. If it's time saved, it's specific time saved. Like, I want to decrease this amount of time by 5 minutes or 20%. Something that can be measured.
Okay. So who's affected by the problem? Where in the chain is the link broken? Right? Where is the problem?
Yep. Who's affected? What's broken? Where is it happening? And how do you measure success?
Okay. And I think we answered all those. So
Yep.
I think that's it for today. I appreciate your time, Jonathan, and we will carry on and see you on the next one.